All right, welcome everybody. This is Venice Beach Central, our third episode, and again, we come to you with the best and the brightest around the greater Venice community. And a lot of us, you will find out, met at a place called the Talking Stick. So this is our third episode, and welcome. Enjoy the show. I got Audrey McNamara in the house tonight. Yes, and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You had to come a long way, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's great. It's beautiful out here.
Yeah, well, I think it was worth it, you know. And then,
thank you for having me.
For sure, and I think just on that same theme, you know, I met you early on in the Talking Stick, right? That's where we met.
Yeah,
And little by little, you started helping us out and stuff like that. So, but we always knew, we saw you drawing and stuff like that, so we always knew you were a phenomenal artist. So, where does that come from? Where does your art come from? Because you are principally a painter, but you will see that she's also a phenomenal musician too. She'll be doing some music, but you're more known as an artist. So where does that come from? What are your inspirations?
Yeah, I mean, the art is the bread and butter at this point. I think as a child, art was a way of entertaining myself. And you know, and then I was a shy, solitary child, so it was perfect for me. And then I didn't think much of it growing up, but then so after high school, I realized that this was now the world of jobs, and then I realized I didn't like the world of jobs. And then by the time I was 21, 22, I was looking for nothing else but the exit out of the world of jobs, and the only thing that was really staring me in the face was the prospect that I could become the freelance artist, you know. And I had a couple people in my head that were influential that I saw, you know, doing that, could kind of pattern myself off of it, but it just amalgamated naturally, you know.
And who are these people?
Geez, there was an old gay man in the trailer park where I lived at, and his name was Jim, and I can't remember his last name, but he did paintings. There was a guy who's still a prominent artist, Eric Blue Hudspeth, and he's from the East Coast, and he was a buddy of mine when I was younger. I'm like, yeah, not a lot of people. And I swear, before I got out of high school, you know, I didn't know people were fine artists. I didn't know, nobody, you know, presented that as a vocational option.
Right, but you were doing it already?
Yeah, I just tried to figure. I started modeling at the Art Students League in Denver, and that was especially good because I got to see how artists were functioning, professional artists were functioning, what kind of you know, what projects were like, and what the work field was like, and I got my education through that whole idea of the modeling at the Art Students League and other spots. Like, it was really gainful for me. Yeah.
So that's where you're from, Denver?
Yeah, I was born in Aurora. Oh no, well, I was born in Denver. I grew up in Aurora mostly, which is not far. But if you've been to Aurora, it could be kind of night and day, you know.
Really?
Like,
why is that?
Oh, it's just, you know, low income.
Okay.
Just like.
So usually in low income you find art and culture, right? Believe it or not. In this, you had nothing like that, huh?
My experience wasn't like that. I mean, I would have been charmed to have found, you know, our art culture or hip-hop culture or music culture stemming from the area that I was raised in, but it just wasn't so. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I certainly got to read a lot about art being part of cultures, you know, that were up and coming, and the people's voice for things. I mean, that's where it stems.
And then what brought you out here to Venice?
Well, originally I had a muraling job with a small team that went to San Juan Capistrano, and I had just hit the ceiling in Denver, and I was getting a little bit bored and looking for a new frontier, and San Juan Capistrano definitely didn't seem to be the place where I was bound, but I thought, I'm not too far from LA. And I really just threw myself out here. Like at that time, I mean, I was 26. I was, you know, I kind of like, I was just naive and went for all sorts of things that were big mistakes at that time, you know. But it was great, and I stayed for as long as I could in that first run, like considering what was going on, you know. Like it was like 11 months that I was here, but it was an intense time.
Yeah. And then was that around the time you first came to the Talking Stick, or was that later?
I think it was at the end of that year.
Okay.
That I started coming around and maybe even participated in the first show. But then I was gone from LA for like 7 months at the beginning of 2010, like 5 months.
I remember that. I definitely remember that. But yeah, you guys came early on. You and Christian, right?
Yeah, Christian. I think Christian was the first show that I went to because he was performing at the Talking Stick.
It was like on the spur of the moment. Hey, there's nobody here. Can you get down here and play? That was like one of the first Mondays, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw you out there for sure. So and then. Yeah. Yeah,
and that was the beginning of me getting to know him too. And I mean, geez, now we have 2 kids together, you know, so it was definitely.
But it was serendipitously that I met you in the first place, definitely, because I just met him like 2 or 3 days before then, right? So, yeah, that's another thing, you know, the Talking Stick, bringing people together, and it's really important to me. I think the community is really important in terms of us, you know, staying healthier in these times of you know, so many distractions and so many gadgets and stuff like that we have to still be connected to people to be healthy. And we've seen how it affects art movements and things like that. It really does take on a life of its own, right? And that's what kind of happened at the Talking Stick. So now let's talk about your website. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. I gotta say that you're such a prolific artist. You have so much work up there. Is that years of work, or what is that? Yeah,
it's I mean, it wants to be all the work that I've ever produced, even though I'm quite sure I don't have image files of everything. That's thousands of paintings, little and big. But I have a lot of work posted on there, and it's a beautiful thing to behold. And AudreyMcNamara.net is the website address. Like I know it's changed a couple of times, but it's I love to do what I do, you know.
And it shows, and it definitely shows. So you've done a lot of selling on the Venice Boardwalk as well, right? I've seen your stands over there, and you're very professional as to how you set it up. Does that kind of like, you like being off the grid, so to speak, being independent?
Yeah, the term resurfaced the other day, outsider artist, and I guess I still do feel like I am that. And being a street vendor is even a different thing. And I was educated by, you know, in Venice, you know, how to put that all together. And now, like, it's nice to have just a really good system to where I just do and unpack everything, and it like kind of all folds together all magically too. And you know, and at the same time, you know, as an artist, whenever anybody, you know, maybe they see the work, maybe they don't, they just want to give advices, and they're like, oh, galleries, and I'm like, galleries, like, nah, I just like show up, you know. I might unload in front of your grandma's house and set up my but like, you know, still, it's just, you know, it's for the people, like the artist.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing that you've been able to make a living for a while, right?
Yeah,
on this level.
Luckily, I have a lot of word of mouth, you know, so even now that I've got to spend a lot more time with the kids, like the orders and people with project ideas and stuff, it just like comes at a nice steady flow, and I don't really have to dig up the work the way that I used to.
And that's a lot of work went into that website. And And by the way, I just want to mention one thing, that our Venice Beach Central logo was designed by Audrey here as well. She helped me out with it. I had a vision, and she exceeded my expectations completely, as you can see when you see the logo. If you haven't seen it already, it's amazing. He really tied in. I thought of Venice as the center of the world, in a way it is. What other neighborhood, can you find such an international presence? I'm not talking about a city. I'm talking about a neighborhood that is that world famous. Maybe Greenwich Village, maybe, right? Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, Venice. It's so, having been born and raised there, I have a totally different perspective of it. And having been grown up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, I have a different perspective of it. So I want to show everybody's perspective of it, not just one side of it, right? So that's why.
Yeah, it truly is beautiful like that. It's some kind of vortex. I always say people are gravitating to it, back to it. As if you pulled a magnet back and then it went back. You can relocate. These people, but if they want to be there, then they're drawn there for some reason, and it's really lovely too how you could be anywhere in the world, but if you were ever Venice remembers you. And it doesn't take all, awesome. It's really true.
I find that myself in my own self, right? If I'm working too much and just didn't even realize that, Yeah. Hey, Nikki, what's up? Oh, wow. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I had people, different times coming back, that didn't know the whole story, and I told them, said something about setting up in Venice, and watch out, those, you might not even get a space. And I was like, don't worry, they know me there. Maybe you are worried, but I'm not.
That's for sure.
But it's a hard knock life. It certainly can be, and I would dare say that a lot of people have to deal with kind of a rough road here in LA before they can get to. I mean, you were born here, which at least has to make the getting here easier. But yeah, there's dues.
For sure.
Real dues.
That's what I love about it, though. And that's why these artists that are on this show have all paid your dues and are continuously paying dues, right? So, yeah, we are looking for the best and the brightest to inspire other folks. We've always said that. You and I worked with Venice Mosaic together.
Yeah.
And that was the poetry, even though we're not poets, right? That really inspired both of us, right? To have that art, music, and poetry. And I've seen you done a lot of shows with that kind of theme. What is it about the multimedia that you like in your shows? Because she also is a promoter of many fantastic live events as well.
Well, I love the contrast of performances. I love it when one person comes up and they're country, and then the next person who comes is some African drums, and the next person is some other thing. And God bless the poets. That's a rough road. It's the fighting the good fight for sure, and I like comedy in there too. I've even imagined dance performance, but I never had anybody actually do that. Sometimes people
We did that a couple times. We
had the fashion shows.
Yeah, and they were all coming out dancing, it felt like.
Yeah. Those
or the harissa dancers. Times. Yeah, we didn't have them. Right. Yeah.
But the great thing about the Talking Stick, it was I thought what I loved was the open mic. Because all of those, everybody from that community, they felt safe to come in. They felt comfortable. The staff was kind to them. Maybe they had to stash their bag in some corner. Maybe they were ridiculous.
You might see it.
Well, I mean, but people wanted to behave well. They wanted to do the best. It was a sanctuary.
Because we did it that way. We put those standards down. Had we not done that, it would have been a free for all.
Yeah. Well, of course we had to have rules, but
then,
it was so good for some people, and there's nothing like it. I see a lot of familiar faces that used to come in there bright and happy to do the open mic and fill out their name on the form and then buy their little coffee, and now they just look lost. in the rain, out in the rain with some grocery buggies, you know.
That's true. You know, I had Alex Soshin on this show, and he was saying that he had come to the open mic 6 months, signed up, and never performed. You know, and look how good he is. Yeah. I didn't even notice that. We didn't even notice it, right? Like, so we don't even know who's out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're about the best and the brightest, but we're also about bringing people in. We're very inclusive, and we'll help you get to be one of the best and the brightest. We're not just, you know what I mean? So that's what made the Talking Stick the best. That Rich and Sherry and myself had the same vision of, let's keep this river fresh. In other words, the newcomer's the important person too. Don't forget the first timer. Don't forget, hey, I see you, come on in here, right? So that kept it fresh for everybody.
Yeah.
You had your establishment regulars. I love them too. Love you all. And you're the ones on this show, right? But I think that's what made us special, is the fact that we were always looking for new people too.
Yeah, looking to bring people up, you know, and with compassion. And the real spirit of art is not a snobby one, which is, I think, a big misnomer these days. Everybody thinks like, oh, you know, these Picassos and the Basquiats and with the guy with the Campbell soup, I can't think of it right now, but
Warhol.
Like, yeah, Warhol. You know, these celebrity artists that had, you know, just nasty, sinky Devo attitudes. You know, like art isn't supposed to be like that. Art is for healing. You know,
that's it, man.
This place needs that healing. You know.
And that's why I'm so glad you were here today, Audrey. Thank you so much for showing up. And you're one of the first. You know, I'm going to the very most special people out here that helped me the most at the Talking Stick that I wanted to revisit. So that's why I stepped to you first. And I really appreciate you coming down, man, because you're awesome. And she's going to be doing some music. She's multifaceted, so stick around for the music. You can catch that on our VeniceBeachCentral.com website under performances. So thanks a lot. Again, the wonderful and lovely Audrey McNamara. I'm Nikki Black. Thanks a lot, folks. Peace out. Peace, love, and happiness. And we'll see you next time.